Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 3rd of October 2019. It's still 19, nothing's changed, Sareed. Right, so we're just going to run through these trades that we looked at yesterday and maybe see if we can find some other things to look at. So if we start off on the dollar Swiss franc, go to the big time frames, you can see that we're having a bit of a tough time moving beyond the initial edge of the sell zone. We poked into it and now we're kind of overwhelming the bullish liquidity, at least for the time being. So we'll drift down. So nothing yet. Our entry is still up here, so there's plenty of time to see what happens. If we go to the euro American dollar, we're still very far away from our entry. We have it up here. Price is all the way down here. This will probably expire before we get up to here, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's have a look at the Aussie. Also still pretty far away. Nice area. Price came back down. You can see that if we iterate why this is interesting for us, we mark off this. We had it tested a few times. Price finally cut through it. This one did it. It was tested. Then we had the really big release, which moved below, traded below these two previous lows. The origin of that move is up here. Hence our little entry just here. So nothing there yet. We have a look at the American dollar, Canadian dollar. We appear to have been taken into this position, which is nice. So let's reiterate why we pointed out this area. So let's have a look here. So we had let's going to put this off here because this area is interesting. Let's put it here. So we had tests, a deeper test, and price finally went through, and then it moved all the way through here. But then you ask yourself the question, where is the green candle which signifies the origin of the move that moved through this area of demand? Okay, and if you want, you can get this, you can refine it even more. The reason I'm using this is to just show us where the edge of the buy zone is, and you can see the price touched here, and here before it finally went through. So these are progressively deeper. This one a little bit deeper, shallower, and then price cut through. So if you focus on this one here, which is the one where price came down and turned around, this is where we had a nice test. Price moved up. Here we had market structure fail. Okay, and it consumed this area of demand. So this tells us that this area here is interesting to us. And so what I want to do in a situation like that is I want to look at the high of the candle that is responsible for pushing through this area. And this requires us on this time frame to go to the smaller time frames and have a closer look. So go to the hourly chart and have a look there first. You can see, actually maybe you can't see, let me turn off everything. Off. Cool. So you can see that this is just a really nice pullback, like the slingshot is pulled back. I've talked about this before, where price kind of moves around like that, and we have one last push higher, and then price dumped. Okay, so this is the place where typically you would put your entry, because this is where we were able to attract sellers into the market, draw sellers into the market to push us down. Okay, there are also probably some orders lingering in the market that my broker wanted to have filled, and so on my price feed they pushed price up into this, and this resulted in this asset being sold off. Okay, I don't think this is what's going on with my broker, but I think on market maker brokers, or they have a price feed that enters their machine that they buy from, let's say, UBS or Goldman Sachs or Barclays or whoever, and then they have, so this is the market, this is the market, we'll call it Mr. M, Mr. Market. Okay, and then this is the liquidity that they have, and then they create like a simulated version of the market, which is much smaller, which is the small Mr. Market, and this is their market. and they can't manipulate these prices, but they can certainly manipulate the prices that are in their regime. Okay, and so this is what you'll see typically when you hear of market manipulation. This is something that's happening on a broker to broker based level, where they are manipulating prices to fill the orders that their clients have. And this is of course risky, because when they're doing this, when they're deviating from the actual prices that they're getting from their data feeds, they are taking on additional risk, because they do not know if they're making good decisions or not. But they're hoping that the commissions earned by pushing price up to here will be sufficient for them to cover, or at least hedge their risk in relation to their liquidity provider, which are the big guys. Okay, so price went down, we cut through, and now we are fiddling around this area. This is not a pretty area, but I do like this. And if we go to a smaller time frame, you'll probably see a decent pattern there. But I put the entry just here, which is just below the highs. And I did this because this is roughly where this little pattern is. It's not a beautiful pattern, but it does look like this. So you see the heads of these, or these candles. This is just below that. This is where price went, so I was expecting price to wriggle lower from here. So will it work? We have absolutely no idea, but we're expecting that it will because of this. Okay, so I did not want to trade this. Typically you would be trading something that looked like this. I think most supply and demand people will tell you to trade something like that. We're not doing this. We're focusing on the beginning of the buys and the sell zones within this pool of liquidity, so this pocket. So we have a big pocket of liquidity, which is kind of up here, and we're refining it into ever decreasing sizes of pools of liquidity until we find that little one that ensures that we get in at a very advantageous price. And the cool thing about this is that I put my stop up here, of course, but you could have your stop here. And if your stop is up here and you're risking, this much here, which is tiny, price doesn't have to move far for you to get a good risk reward. Here we're at 1 to 1, here we're at 1 to 2, and here at 1 to 3. Price doesn't have to move that far, okay? And so that's what we're looking at there. But I like to obviously be a little bit careful of that, because price can easily kind of poke up and attempt to find sellers, hit stops, and in turn cause price to move lower. So doing it like this with such small stops is very risky. I prefer to have slightly bigger stops so that I can wait for price to kind of figure out what it's going to do, because price will naturally move higher and lower in an attempt to find liquidity to for the trade to work out. Okay, so that's what we have there. So we'll leave that in there and see what happens. Okay, pretty nice entry. Yeah, we'll wait and see. So for the target on this, we have to find the same pattern that we saw once before. So we need to find, you can see there are a lot of wicks down here. So this tells us that we have something in here that seems to be pretty profound. It's had a lot of kind of tests, and then it went through, and price poked through it, and then price went above here, but this is gone. But if we look a little bit lower, we need to find these wicks that signify what we're trying to accomplish here. And you can see, let me zoom out. You can see that we have a lot of tests here. Better go like this so I don't. So we have a lot of tests here, kind of poking them to the area. Price went through and it went down, and then it went higher. So the beginning of the buy zone was somewhere down here. So if we have a look at this on a smaller time frame, go to the 15-minute time frame if I have that information. Let me just scroll here. We have to have a look and see what that looks like. Okay, so you can see very clearly we have this. You can see that we have that. The software is not going back that far, but we have this, and we have this. So we have quite a few levels on top of levels. I prefer this. So I think we could have something like, maybe if we took all of these because they're quite a few. We don't know which one is going to stop price. So price, the target should be pretty close to that, I think. Okay, so that's where we can expect price to have a bounce. Notice that one thing I don't like that much about this trade is that we've managed to form this really nice kind of a rounded price, which normally signifies that price is efficiently moving lower. We saw it here. So I like this. We're going down and then lower, but we managed to poke up here. So this is, there's a lot going on now at the moment in the White House with these impeachment hearings. So Trump is doing all sorts of stuff, and this is obviously affecting the volatility of the American dollar and those pairs traded with it. And so yeah, so that kind of makes me feel a little bit careful. So I keep a close eye on this. I would like price to come down here. You can see we had these tests here, all these tests here. Price tested it once, twice. So this is a really nice price sensitive area. So I'd be pretty keen if price came down there. I'd be quite happy. And will it? We don't know. But I'll leave it on and see what happens. Depending on what happens today, unless I start to get some pretty strong price movement soon, which we're starting to pick something up. I mean, there's nothing in here. This is okay, but if you look at this, we need to find like the price window. If we take this and we move it back, see this one caused price to move above these, so we had kind of like a resistance, price cut through, support. So this could be interesting. So I'll have to watch price once it gets around this area and then reassess. This is also the big figure, the 13300 area, so you just have to be a little bit careful. But this, if none of this here was here, I wouldn't even consider this, because it's like it's not a very interesting level. But I prefer this down here. There, and we have also some micro areas in here. So we have this one here. See, this one, price went down, it was tested, rallied, accumulated, rallied, and then popped through. So this one here could also be interesting for us. I'm just going to mark off the level, these levels here. So we have one here, and we have one here. So we have two areas that I'd have to watch a little bit carefully. And below that, we have, let's have a look. What do we have? So we have a turning point here. Okay, so here we've tested. I mean, price really galloped north from there. So we're going to have to watch this a little bit as well. What happened there? Yeah, down here. And then we have another one down here. Okay, so lots of areas that we should be keeping an eye on, but I'm not going to micromanage this too much. I just keep an eye on it, like a weary eye, and then we'll see what happens. But so these are a couple of areas that we can expect price to have a bit of a bounce at, and I'll leave them on there so we can see if price does bounce at all. But my objective is to get down to here, because due to the fact that we have not moved above this high, this means that we will likely begin to move lower. This is just the volatility that is a result of the stuff that's going on in the White House at the moment. But I do like the fact that, I mean, we are wriggling lower. Okay, we're going like this. So I can do that a little bit clearer. We're just having kind of like a maybe I don't know if you trade these things. I certainly don't, but they're certainly pretty to look at. Got a nice pair of wings, and I'll just finish that off. That's a pretty butterfly. So we have that going on there, and yeah, so somewhere around here, I'd say. But we'll have to wait and see. I have no idea. But we have the highs getting lower. So we have our trend line, longer term is going down. We have our stop above this trend line point. This is not a valid one yet. Why? Because price has not moved below this one, but it's an early one, and I'm expecting price to wriggle lower from here. So yes, we'll have to wait and see. So that's what we have there. Okay, so let's go to the dollar. Japanese yen. That's really far away from price still. That'll certainly expire before anything happens. The pound, what do we have? That's also really far away. Look at that, by the way. Those, if you guys are doing like pure Pipnotic level trading, I mean, this one would have put a smile on your face, I think. I know Philip had a lot of joy with this little bounce here. That's beautiful. Little example of the the euro Norwegian krona testing another superb area like this. A little tip, okay, a little tip for pure Pipnotic traders. If you want to trade an area, look for a test of that area very soon after the area has been established, okay, because this is telling you where the edge of the sell zone for this area or the edge of a buy zone for area lower. So this is just a really good example of that. If we have a look at the pound, I'm not sure if we had one. Here we did. So here we had another one. Price rallied, went up, and then we had this little arrow. This should be a sign saying buy right here, because this is often where price comes back to. Why? Because a slingshot was pulled back and then it was released. Okay, and these are all over the place. So just look for the ones that have pin bar tests of them very shortly after they are qualified. Okay, those are very nice. Cool. So let's have a look here. What do we have here? Well, we have yeah, I mean, this is really far away. The euro kiwi, this is also really far away. These will probably expire. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Really far away. Yeah, so there's nothing else that's getting close to. I mean, this moved very far away from. I like this area here, but it's really far away from price. Let's have a look. That's also very far away. Yeah, so these are probably going to expire, and I'll pull them all off before the weekend as well, because these days there's a lot of stuff going on over the weekend when Trump pulls out his Twitter cannon and starts saying silly things, which he's doing a lot these days because he's under pressure because of the impeachment. So that's very interesting. Then we have this, the Aussie CAD, drifting lower. Yeah, so that's what we have there for the time being. So let's have a look at some other stuff. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. First of all, symbols, crypto, Bitcoin. There it is. It's at the bottom there. What's going on here? Well, everyone's rate. Let's do the same analysis on this one as we did on all the other ones. Okay, so let's do the major flows first. Okay, so we have, where do we have an area that has historically shown a lot of support or resistance? We have that one right here. It's been tested so many times, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and now it's gone. What area removed that for us? This one did, right there. So we go to smaller time frames. We want to find those micro areas that are doing the same thing. So if we, sorry, before I do anything else, I just want to mark off the area. Okay, so this is where it happened. Go to the smaller time frame. Test all the tests here. Let's find another one. We have one here. So we had this one here. Tested. It's gone. There, they did it. There's this one here. This one is gone. The area that did it. There's this one here. This one's gone. The area that did it. That's kind of debatable, but you can see that we have something here which is gone, but this is the one that kind of forced price to move below. And so we have something here, within here somewhere. So let's have a look. Okay, so we mark off this area and remove this box. So we have that. Okay, so we have to do the whole process over again. We have all these tests in here, so mark them off roughly. Tested once, twice, 3 times. Now it's gone. The origin of the move that did that. Where's the slingshot that went back? There's no slingshot here. We have the slingshot here, which has been tested once, twice. Now price is drifting lower. See, this is a tough call. When you have this, you can't really see what to do. So you have to keep going smaller until it jumps out at you. Sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. You can see there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing there. But what we do have, we have this one. Was it tested? It was, and then it gapped down. Can you see the gap? The gap down here. What day is this? This was on the 20th. The 20th. What day is it? 20th. That was a Friday. So it had a gap on Friday, and it gapped down. And so if you wanted to close that gap, you probably have to come around to the lows here, because this is where price went from. So I'm thinking that around here, which price is done. So looking below that, and there's nothing you can put a hook on. So in such a situation, the beginning of the sell zone starts here and goes up. So with this one, you want to cascade your orders. If we have a look on the big time frame, sometimes you just need to the macro view, and here it becomes clearer. High of the candle to the left, boom, like that. So the 10,076. So this could be an interesting area to begin to accumulate orders to sell. Do we have anything more? Nothing there on the daily. Now this makes perfect sense when you look at it like this. We do have also daily. Where are you? Begins here. Okay, this is a big candle to the left. The pullback, the slingshot went back to here before it moved down. So yeah, we'll probably start to have bounces at the lows here and then up to here and essentially move back up into this. Because price has already been to this price point here and here and here, I'd want to look higher. So all of this becomes noise, and I want silence, which you can see above here. So this is the beginning of the sell zone, so I would be keen to sell right there. So if we do that properly, the software is already pointing at it for us right here. Okay, so if we have a look at the high of this candle, we can't see it. Let's remove the software quick. Wrong thing. So here, this one didn't close in there. So I think this would be a pretty nice place to start to sell Bitcoin. 11,600-ish area. Okay. But we'll probably have some reactions here. All the guys that don't know what they're doing are probably going to start, I think. I don't know what they're going to do. But they're probably going to, I think we'll start to see some short orders into here. But I'm not going to do anything until price moves here. And if it doesn't move down here, but I'm going to wait for clear demand to form above where we are now. Or I want to see the demand that starts to form below these, and which is responsible for taking this guy out. Once this guy is gone, and there's demand formed below it, well then I'll start to buy. But for the time being, everything is going down. Okay, so as I mentioned in the previous videos, we don't have demand until much lower. So not going to do anything on that. Let's have a look at the Kiwi yen. What's going on? Okay, a lot of these blasted trades have already happened, so you can see. So we had all these tests many times. This one did it. Software found it, and it's been tested. So that's gone. That's still in play. You can see as well that what are we doing? We're trying to form demand. There's something in here. Let's have a look at it. 15-minute chart. We're trying. Here it is. You can see that demand forming. And so now what we want is we want this one to be taken out, and then we want to buy the area that does that, but we don't have that yet, so we can't do anything on this pair. There's a funny trade just here. Interesting how these levels are pretty remarkable, how they hold like they do, but for the time being there's nothing to do. We have to wait for this one to be removed. Once that happens, then we have a micro demand that we can play with, but until then there's nothing to do. We are reacting on or at this area. Is this demand? Let's have a look. Where do we have a lot of here? Got it here. So price tested once, a deeper push twice. We formed supply below this supply, and so now we want this stuff to be removed. Beginning of the sell zone. So nothing to do. You can neither buy nor sell. So we'll just wait. But isn't it nice, by the way, that you can do your analysis and you can look at something and you can think like, man, today I want to buy some kiwis, or today I want to buy some yen, or sell the franc, or whatever. I mean, doing this process, it kind of says, I want to, but it's not going to happen. Why? Because there's no reason to do it. And so it really slows down the process and makes it very objective. Okay, let's do the pound, Japanese yen, which I don't have up here. Okay, so here we have, let's go here first. What are we doing? What's driving price? Weekly supply. So price is moving lower. We're testing this little area here. You can see here that we have a nice area of supply there, and the beginning of the sell zones here. So you could certainly look to try and short it again once it comes up into this area. Excuse me. But looking at it on this time frame, this brings your attention a little bit higher to this one. And this is one of those examples where you have the area, you have the flashing sign saying sell here. Once price gets back to this level, and it almost did. And so this might be an interesting area to engage with at some stage when price gets up there. But again, you want to focus on what happens below price. We have this area, which looks pretty, but let's see if it's responsible for anything. So we had this one. Test. See the green candle that happened prior to the consumption of this one, it poked through there, is here. So this one is no longer there. Oops. This one is here. Software found this. So this might be an interesting area to play with on the pound Japanese yen. I'd be keener down here, but I mean this is fine, but you'll have to maybe just be careful managing this, because it's we're pretty far up in the curve. We're 50% is around right here from the low to the high. This is about 50%, so it's in the higher end. We have this liquidity void here, so we have thin liquidity here until we get down here. And so also notice that here we have all of these wicks right there, testing here, which were consumed by something, and we'll see what that is here. Let's have a look. Buy this one. Buy something here. So we have this one below, which I prefer. We have another one here, rally, test, departure, rally, test, departure. Yeah, for this, you know, I'd be looking lower. I would certainly be looking something like that, just a little bit below price for this one. I'll be looking here, and for this one right there. And we have this little area that's below here, which is kind of justifies the pullback here that left. And this is the big move. So I would, as a matter of fact, go like this. Something like that. Then we had another little one here, another little one there. Yes, that's what we have there. Yeah. Right, I'll leave it at that, nice and short. If you have any questions, post them in the room. Thanks for watching.